Hey there, adventurers! Today we're going to be talking about Expedition Everest. This is a roller coaster that is one of the most popular attractions here at Animal Kingdom. We're going to be exploring everything from history, the queue, and the actual ride itself. So with that being said, let's go ahead and have a great day adventure. Now before we head over to Expedition Everest, let's first talk about the history, because it all began on April 22nd, 2003, when during an event celebrating the 5th anniversary of Animal Kingdom, Expedition Everest would be officially announced to the public. In fact, a month before they officially announced it, there's actually construction that began for the roller coaster in March 2003, a month before this announcement. But this project would actually be led by none other than Disney legend Imagineer Joe Rohde, who spent 6 years performing extensive research. In fact, he and his team actually took numerous trips to the Himalayan region in Nepal, visited cities and towns all around the famous mountains, photographed all sorts of stunning vistas and landscapes, and took in local culture and folklore. Their main goal, though, was actually seek out local legends about Yeti and learn much more on its history in the mountains. The roller coaster would take up to 3 years and required more than 38 miles of rebar, 5,000 tons of structural steel, and 10,000 tons of concrete. In fact, on top of that, this coaster stands at 199.5 feet tall, being the tallest attraction at Walt Disney World, even beating Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios by just 6 inches. But eventually, on January 26, 2006, Expedition Everest would have its first set of previews and had its official grand opening on April 7th, 2006, with a grand opening ceremony. But now, that portion of history isn't over yet, because there's actually the main centerpiece of the attraction, and that is the Yeti. Now, many people would probably know about this, but this animatronic would become very problematic. Now, the animatronic for the Yeti is 25 feet tall, and its skin measures 1,000 square feet as it's held in place by 1,000 snaps and 250 zippers. A few months after the ride officially opened in 2006, Yeti's figure framing split, actually threatening catastrophic malfunction if it were to be operated further in A mode. So, since then, it has been infamously operated in its alternative B mode, which would be a strobe light effect to give the appearance of movement. And since then, it actually have a nickname of Disco Yeti. But now we must talk about the queue itself, because when we're talking about backstory here, you're actually going through a fictional Himalayan escapes travel agency office where you progress through a replica temple with little holy figures. And in fact, you're actually trying to buy a ticket. And something that I actually like about the theming in the queue is that through standby, you're going through a ticket office and you have to buy a ticket. But in Lightning Lane, you're actually going through a ticket, bypassing all that since you already bought the ticket. So that's a little cool fun fact. Although with single rail line, you're just bypassing it all. Also, if you see this in Asia, then you may not know this, but if you go behind it, then it's actually a perfect replica of the mountain itself, and that's so cool. And now we're here at Expedition Everest, Legend of the Forbidden Mountain. We can see this sign out here, and I think right now we're gonna go ahead and head inside. Now you do have a few options. You can either do standby, Lightning Lane, or single rider line. And as soon as you're inside, you're actually in the fictional office of the Himalayan Escapes, where there's actually 8,000 artifacts all in here. So really to get all this, it would actually be pretty impossible to do, but we can see so much all in here. And while we're walking, we're actually here in this small tea garden where we can see some Yeti statues all here. There's also all sorts of flags and oranges, as well as a rotting banana. And then as soon as we head inside, there is the Yeti Museum. And I'm gonna kind of slow down, but we can actually see there is some gloves collected from the Nepal trip, where there's about 8,000 artifacts all inside this one Yeti Museum. And as soon as we're heading inside, there is all sorts more equipment, where we can also see some gear and some canned food emergency supplies, along with cooking equipment, and even this section right here where we can see some university diplomas from Professor Pima Jor. There's also some pictures, maps. There's also pictures of the herders, traders, farmers, where for thousands of years the people of the Himalayas have lived in harmony with their environment. Plus, there is all sorts of statues and art, where we can see this carved wood statue. There's also some more artifacts with a world of rituals, as we can see some paintings and some more artifacts. There's even some more artifacts with what outsiders think of the Yeti, where the exploration of Himalayas has brought startling results as news of the legendary creature has spread worldwide. We can see all sorts of maps. We can actually see the map right here, where there's all sorts of pictures with people climbing the mountain, Yeti's footprints, Norwegian prospector reports. There's even some collectibles like compass, gloves, thermos, and cooking set. There's also the Royal Geographical Society journal, and even some books, as well as lights. Plus, there's even this tent that seems to be broken, ripped apart, as this area is the Mystery of Lost Expedition, where we can see all of these equipment that's either broken or destroyed, like some broken helmets or shoes, as well as destroyed tape recorders, as well as some canisters. In this section, we can learn more about the lowland jungle animals, such as the clouded leopard, chital, king cobra, and more. Plus, there's the midland forest animals like the suro, common leopard, and even the tiger, as well as mountain animals like griffin, vulture, mountain lizard, and more, and snow leopard. There's some more traditional masks where they've been long inspired by the wildlife of the region. There's even more pictures and GPS units, where this whole section is about documenting the biodiversity in 2005, where they have all sorts of GPS units, field notebooks, and even some paw prints, as well as recorded scratching posts and pitfall traps. There's also a tooth recovered in the ruins of the monastery at Circus Zong, and there's even some potential Yeti footprints, where there's the Himalayan newspaper and even this Yeti print, as well as pictures of an ape and even some ape skulls. There's even a cast of a footprint that was recovered by Professor Jor in March 2005, along with some pictures that substantiated the existence of the Yeti as well. And with everything here, and And last but not least, there's even this sign where they ask to respect the power of the Yeti, as the Yeti is real and you're about to enter the sacred domain of Yeti, guardian and protector of the Forbidden Mountain, and those who proceed with respect and reverence for the sanctity of the natural environment and its creatures should have no fear, but to all others a warning: you risk the wrath of the Yeti. And also, for legal reasons, there's this opinion section where they say the opinions expressed by the curator of the Yeti Museum is in no way reflects the view of the owners and operators of Himalayan escapes tours and expeditions. In this last room, we are actually here in the ticketing area where we're going to be boarding the train very soon, and we can actually even meet staff right here, including expedition leaders and more, where we can even see climbing guides, staff, as we're about to be heading up to the legendary mountain. There's even some advertisements such as Yeti Tea and even Cali River Rapids as well, which is actually right next door. And there's also many other ads. But with that being said, let's head into the loading area now. And now, once you head out of the loading station, there is also the photos here where it looks like they're not working right now, but this is where you can get your photos, and there's all sorts of merchandise in this shop all around. But I think with all that, we can see some more statues and see all sorts of animal-themed merchandise, including this leopard as well. But now, let's head out of here. And we just got out of Expedition Everest, and overall, I feel like if I have to say anything, this must be probably my favorite ride at Animal Kingdom, especially after seeing the entire queue and even going on this thrilling ride. I mean, the queue is very well themed. There's tons of hidden details that you won't even notice until your 10th time going on here. Plus, there's also the ride itself that is fun, thrilling, and intense as it usually is. And I feel like overall, Expedition Everest is a timeless attraction that is absolutely worth the wait. And I think, for me personally, it is probably my favorite roller coaster at Disney World. And I think with that being said, that's going to be a wrap on our adventure here at Animal Kingdom for Expedition Everest. I had a fun time riding the attraction, and let me know in the comments down below. Do you know any of these facts about this attraction? I would love to know. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.